Hello everybody, I've come up to my friends who helped me with my vehicles when I've broken them and I don't know what to do anymore. And they've got something new that's turned up and I am so very excited to show you what it is. Oh my God, it's a crane! This is a John Allen Grove and it was built in 1971, which is why it looks so awesome. Now, John Allen built the truck, the bottom half of it, and Grove, they built the crane. Now, for model number, this is an H2564, which means it's 25 tons, and the wheel arrangement is 6 wheels, see, and 4 of those are driven. I like easy to follow model numbers. This is great. And as you can see, it's a work in progress. In fact, the window fell out earlier when we were moving it.
Yeah. The front windscreen's a bit gappy.
The inner wing's not attached.
Yeah, I saw it.
Because I got the side off to repair it. I made all the bits and I've got there. Oh. Yeah, I know. The windscreen's falling out. I'll take it out.
So definitely work in progress. But it was given to my friends by one of their friends under the understanding that they would look after it, restore it and make it wonderful again. As this gentleman had purchased it to build his house, as you do. And he purchased it from a Norfolk boatyard where it was used for picking up boats, putting them back in the water. And in order to get it out from the boatyard, they had to cut it, because it had been in the boatyard for so long that they built a new low bridge and it wouldn't go out anymore. So on the cab of the crane, you can see the lines where it was cut because the jib had to come off, but the top of the cab was cut and it's just been tacked back on. And before that, it spent all of its life working for A.R. Adams and Son in Wales, which is obviously a very useful place for a crane to be in comparison to Norfolk. And it spent its life there lifting steam engine boilers. That's what they did, they repaired boilers. And so it lifted boilers and put them back down where they needed them. The thing to note though, that they say that you're doing really well with one of these if you can get it to 40 miles an hour. That must have been a very long drive bringing it back from Wales. And here lies the beating heart of this beast. This is a Leyland 680 Power Plus. And it's a 6-pot, which generates, we think, about 110 horsepower. It's 11.5 litres, so it's quite large. And we think the 680 bit comes from the fact that it was originally, not the Power Plus, the standard unit's about 80 horsepower. We don't know that, that's what we think. And it's quite wonderful. This has had minimal work to get it running again from its sitting in a field for the last 3 or 4 years. The gearbox, that definitely had issues, but this thing, basically solid. But for a 25-ton vehicle without anything else on it, just as it is now, this is quite underpowered. And as I mentioned earlier, a top speed of 40 is possible downhill with the wind behind you. Yeah. Wasn't meant to go very far, this, was it? Coupled to the Leyland power plant is a Leyland gearbox. And it's a 5-speed unit with a 6th gear for overdrive. And it also has a high-low splitter in it, giving you, well, effectively 12 gears. First gear is very, very slow. Like, really slow. But generally, it makes the crane move, and I suppose that's all there is for it, and it works. And I can't really give you any more feedback than it works.
Now, it sounds a bit throaty at the moment with it running, because this should be the silencer for the exhaust, but it's clearly not fitted because it's fallen apart. I love this. I love this.
So as well as the engine that provides the power for movement, there is a second engine hidden away in here, which powers the hydraulics. And look at the size of these rams. They are colossal. The amount of force they can throw out is just, well, silly. I mean, because this jib, this whole crane, this is able to lift 25 tons, which is as much as it. That's a lot of weight for this to be able to leave. And this will also extend out to 90 feet. It won't lift 25 tons at 90 feet because it'll just fall over, but it can extend and it can lift an awful lot. So there's a Ford unit in there, which is a 6-cylinder and about 8 litres. It does work, but, and here's the but, the pipe that runs between this and the fuel tank has rusted to nothing. So at the moment, it doesn't work and none of the hydraulics work. But they did work beforehand. And of course, the main priority now is to make the thing weatherproof. Rather than getting all the cool hydraulics and everything to work, it's trying to preserve the vehicle and look after it. Because even by my own standards, this is a little bit too big to fit in a shed. Because being up here, me and Jeffrey, well, the ground's down there. We're on the crane. It's quite massive. In fact, it's excitingly massive. So priorities, weatherproof and getting it drivable. Because somewhere in here, there's a problem with the third drive. We have drive to one set of axle, well, one axle, 2 sets of wheels, but not the third. And they're not entirely sure why. When it came out of the field that it had been sat in for time, it was loaded onto a low loader. And there was a very large bang, and suddenly they lost drive. So something's broken in there, and we're not sure what, but for the time being, it does drive, just only on one axle, not both, but it can be fixed, they tell me. The other big thing it's had the clutch out, which was a major, major job. I'm now in the control cab for the crane, so everything bar the driving is done up here, because the driving obviously in the other cab. So this controls the outriggers, the jib itself, and all the rotation, and the crane, the cable up and down. It's awesome. I've got a control panel down here to my side, which is very much a Thunderbird style control unit with lots of big toggle switches and push buttons and flashing lights, and it's seriously cool. Now, the crane has a warning system and a load warning system and tip warning system, but it's all run mechanically rather than electronics. It's all done by mechanical sensors and levers. But when this cab was cut, which can be seen somewhere here, they cut straight through all the control cables as well. So none of it works, and it's going to be a monumental challenge to connect it all back up together again. But the guys hope that they're going to be able to do it, because it is a pretty cool function. And this will and did work. It's all been shown working with all these cool lever pedals, and I think this one here reverses the order of the hydraulics. So that's basically go one way and then bring it back, and then he hasn't tidied any of this yet. This is latter. It's mostly weather. There's a windscreen wiper on the roof. Wow, that's cool. And stuff. So yeah, this is all a work in progress. And in front of me is the warning system. And on the door here, you can see this plate. And the plate there has how wide you are, so the length of your jib, and your load, and tells you basically what you can and cannot lift, which is quite a useful reference, especially when I've got the door shut and I can go, oh, I'm at this thing, this length, and I want to lift this much. I can or can't do this. The other big problem with this is the outriggers leak. So if you put them down, they then don't come back up. So now for a graceful dismount. Off. Now, in here, that was off when I started this video, wasn't it? Anyway, in here, we have the hub of the hydraulic network. This is where all the hydraulic hoses come in for the controls in the cab. And I don't understand any of it, apart from it will be a nightmare to sort this out. So we're just going to leave that alone. And in there, that doesn't open, but in there are the batteries for that. And we can see the massive pinion wheel under here, which is what the whole crane rotates around on, should one desire. It really is just a colossal piece of kit. It is massive, and I am so in love with it. It is just, this is going to be amazing when it's done. Like, absolutely bonkers amazing. And also, it's something you don't really see in preservation. People don't preserve cranes. They don't really preserve plant. I mean, fire engines has a niche following, but you know, industrial equipment, nobody thinks to save this kind of stuff. I suppose mostly because it's too poxy big. It is colossal. And Jeffrey, if you come stand at the back over here, which is the very rear point of the vehicle, I'm all the way over here at the front. I am miles away, and the boom overhangs even further to be level. It's massive. So we talked when I was up there about the length of the boom and how far it goes. So this is a 4 times extending boom, and you can see there are 3 separate sections that pop out, which increases the length up to 90 feet. Now, 3 of these are automatic, but that end one up there with the hole in it, well, that's a manual one, which is quite strange. And the way that this worked was you'd extend the boom out like it is now, level, and then you'd put a special bar through that with 2 bars that came back and rested on the collar of the next one. And then you'd retract everything. And as it retracted, it would push the end bit out. And then you could extend it out again, getting your full reach, which is a marvellous way of doing that. And then to shut it, you had to do it in reverse. You had to bring everything out, put it around the other way, so when it compressed, it pulled itself back in. Now, the hooks underneath, which you can see hanging down, they held what's known as a flying jib, which is a kind of like a scaffolding-ish type jib. And that went on the end of the pulley system. And that extended the reach by another 17 feet, which meant you had like over 100 foot of jib. Obviously, that was only for lightweight applications, but it did mean this had an amazing amount of reach. Now, hanging on the front here at the moment, this is the light hook, this rather substantial hook. And this is rated for 5 tons. The heavyweight hook is weighted for 25 tons and weighs over 2 tons in itself, which is bonkers. I always love these cranes with the hook that's hooked onto the front. There's also little bits of work like this plate here, which should be at an angle to protect the radiator rather than hanging down. Other bits, and we can see over here some of the work that my friend has been working on to repair this level. This has all been painted following repairs. This was in quite the state when it turned up. It's significantly better now. And here I am in my favourite part of the crane, the driver's seat, which is actually surprisingly comfortable and very much my level of vehicle. By now you guys have got a very clear indication of what I like, and this is what I like. It is great. There is this most amazing retro control panel in front of me, and a lot of stuff that looks like it doesn't work, but I'm told that it does. It needs a little bit of love, and definitely the fact the front windscreen is missing is strange, but that's fine. Pedal control, that's lovely. It's a very nice throttle. The clutch is insanely difficult, and the gearbox is over here and excessively hard to change out of gear. Getting it into reverse requires a very careful poof with your palm of your hand in just the right place to get it out of reverse, otherwise you're stuck.
Right, now swing her across, son. Get the back wheels onto this bit. Get the back wheels onto this bit, you're all right.
So in an attempt to bring you this video, I've managed to get it stuck in reverse. No, we're stuck. Here comes the man with a hammer.
Does it come out?
Nope. It's got high-low range gear lever here, and the handbrake down here. If we leave the handbrake on, it leaks air. And if we leave the handbrake off, it leaks air. Basically, it leaks air and takes a massive amount of time before it actually regenerates air. Now, I thought Jupiter was slow making air, but this thing is really slow. Now, you might notice the lack of mirrors, or rather, the lack of mirror on this side. Over there's a mirror, but it's smashed. So, and it is, I'm not going to say useless, because that's harsh, but yeah, it's actually useless. It's totally useless. Visibility, ouch! Visibility, the cab is a little bit small. It's a little bit small, but it does have a nice sliding window there, so you can shout out the window at people. Oh. The sliding window needs work. Now, visibility out of this cab is abysmal. I can see very, very little indeed. The door also swings on its own, which is and you can shut it very easily from the outside, but shutting it when you're in the cab is quite difficult. It doesn't want to latch. I can see nothing in here. When I've got the door shut, I can see nothing. At this angle, I can kind of see where I am. The rest of the time, it's nothing. Trying to place myself on the driveway here, I've made a terrible mess of the grass. An absolutely terrible mess. And I drive lorries for a living, and I've got no idea where this thing is. It's very strange because the main thing in my field of view is the front end of the jib and the cables and the hook, which is a bit throwing off. And it goes a long way over there. Like, the cab isn't equal distance. It doesn't take up half the front of it. It takes like a third or maybe even a quarter. It's totally, yeah, I'm now surprised even looking over there, because you've got the rise of where your engine is, which kind of makes you think, the side of the truck is a cab's width away. But no, you've got another width beyond that. It's just, I can't wait to drive it on the road. But it's very difficult to reverse. And it's not much better going forwards. Just where you are you're not where you think you are. And that brings us on to the most bonkers thing about this. Because it's a crane, it's MOT exempt. Technically, if we were to tax this is road legal. Because it does, it runs, it drives, and it stops. And that's like your basic requirements. I mean, obviously, it's not going on the road because it's not ready. And people might have something to say about, I don't know, the big bits of panel hanging off and the fact there's no silencer. But technically, as a crane, road legal. Now, my friend tells me that some of these buttons work. So apparently I've got working headlights. So Jeffrey, if you want to pop out the front and tell me if any of these work. Do I have side lights? How about headlights? Great. Apparently nothing worked when it came here, apart from the orange light on top of the cab. That was the only functioning bit of electronics. And that, now, for no reason whatsoever, that doesn't work. All the other lights, everything else has been sorted. Yellow light, just given up, which is just hilarious. Oh, this is proper cool. So there we are, guys, a little review on this amazing bit of plant, which I am so very, very in love with. It's great. It's so up my street. It's unreal. I am absolutely just so taken with it. And I touched on it earlier in the video. It's a shame that not more vehicles like this are saved. And particularly this. This is quite important historically. This is the first hydraulic telescopic jib crane that was available in the UK. I mean, not this particular one here, but it's the model is. So yeah, it's actually kind of important. And it's wonderful that it's here with my friends who are going to restore it to its former glory. And it's going to be one hell of a showpiece when they take it out and start taking it to shows. And I cannot wait to be able to drive it to some shows and cause massive amounts of chaos on the roads, because let's be honest, it will. And it's quite, I'm not going to say show-stopping, but it will get quite a bit of attention. It's awesome. Would I have one? Oh God, yes. I don't know where I'd put it because it won't fit in my shed, but I would. It's great. And we'll do an update as time goes on and things happen with it. When it's actually done and shiny, we'll revisit again and I'll do a review out on the road because I'm excited for that. So, for now, thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. Ta-ra!